considering what could have been a loss against Army, a definite drubbing at Wisconsin, and an offensive performance for the ages negatively for Michigan. I guess any win at this point is a good win. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Wolverines. Michigan beats Illinois 42-25. We understand that Illinois is probably the second worst team in the Big Ten. Rutgers is just off on its own planet in terms of ineptitude, historic, epic ineptitude. But Illinois is probably the worst team in the Big Ten otherwise, and certainly in that division. So Michigan's performance, difficult to rate, but they came out at least and thought and tried to establish the running game, thinking down the road, we've got to run it. I don't know that Michigan really knows what it's doing offensively at this point, because we know what Jim Harbaugh's tradition is. We know what Michigan football looks like in the past. We know what Jim Harbaugh's offenses look like in regards to approach going into 2019. But we know with Josh Gaddis calling the plays and this revamped offense, what it was supposed to look like, something like LSU North, but it's not turned out that way. And in this game, they tried to run the ball. And in the last few weeks, they haven't thrown that many passes after they were supposed to revamp the offense, spread it out, get it to their talented wide receiver core, and not rely on a ground game where they had few running backs basically to choose from. Case in point, Zach Charbonnet with 33 carries against Army, and then a couple weeks later, they're concerned about his work load. So it was interesting game plan in regards to trying to establish the run, and that certainly set up the play action for big plays downfield in the second quarter by the Michigan passing game. The aforementioned freshman, Zach Charbonnet, started running and running often and running well, 18 carries for $116. Hassan Haskins, we've only seen him in limited action. His biggest performance to date, and this is a kid who was a redshirt freshman, 9 carries for 45 yards against the aforementioned Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Hassan Haskins carried it 12 times for 125 yards at Illinois. Had to look this kid up. He was the 49th rated running back coming out of high school in 2018 out of Missouri. But he could be a key factor down the stretch. He was the most impressive of the running backs. Drew Wilson chipped in with 10 carries and 46 yards. But more fumbling issues for Michigan. They have fumbled the ball 17 times. Shea Patterson has been a main culprit and have lost 9 fumbles this season. Quinn Nordine missed a 34-yard field goal in amongst the scoring barrage by Michigan early in scoring 4 touchdowns to go up 28-0, including the block punt by Glasgow, as Michigan went up again with 2 minutes left in the first half at 28-0. Illinois mounted what we didn't think necessarily was going to be a comeback at the time, just them getting on the scoreboard at the end of the second quarter when Josh Imatora-Bebe caught one transfer from USC. We covered him extensively when he was with the Trojans. Imatora-Bebe with 23-yard reception, broke a ton of tackles. Michigan should be embarrassed looking at that game tape in the defensive backfield. Secondary that played so well. We praised their play last week against Iowa, both in supporting the run, supporting the screen game, and also with the pass breakups and closing on the receivers and locking down tackles. But on that particular play, they looked awful. Illinois went on a scoring spree of 25 consecutive points unanswered. So the Illinois offense, for the most part, shut down Michigan's defense. Yes, they gave up the big plays to Jonathan Taylor, got run over in that particular game, but they're still playing at a high elite level most of the time. In this game, yes, only giving up 256 total yards to Illinois. And for as bad as the Illini are overall, they do move the ball and they do have explosive players on offense. They were missing their starting quarterback, former Michigan quarterback Brandon Peters, and Robinson, their freshman, was starting in his place. But during the scoring spree, in which Illinois scored 25 consecutive points, they did rip off some big plays of 18, 23, 14, 35, 23, and 19 yards. But to conclude the game, Illinois could not complete the comeback on 3 consecutive possessions. They fumbled 3 straight possessions As Michigan was grinding to a halt during that Illinois comeback, the Michigan drought read like this: 4 straight possessions, only 33 total yards, punt, fumble, and a turnover on downs. So that's the Michigan performance against Illinois, very uneven. Started out hot, dominated the game at 28-0, had a letdown from the 2-minute mark of the second quarter until about 13 minutes left in the game, in which Illinois converted the 2-point conversion to make it 28-25. Michigan closed it out with a long scoring drive of 79 yards, plus the defensive turnover that set up the Michigan offense at the 1-yard line. So the 42 points a bit deceiving, as the Michigan defense mostly dominated. And Michigan had 489 yards of total offense, which is pretty substandard or pretty marginal against Illinois. If you check out the Illini defensive stats, they are not impressive. They're awful. Michigan will show us much of what they have, and if they're riding the ship or if it's just bad competition, when they go to Happy Valley to take on undefeated Penn State next weekend. For Illinois, Lovie Smith made an interesting comment after the game, guaranteeing that Illinois will be more successful in the second half of the season than they were in the first, which is strange because they played 3 lackluster non-conference games, and they're obviously in Big Ten play now. So at 2-4, if he means the results will be better, they're going to have to win 3 of their final 6 games. Okay, they're 2-4 right now, and for them to finish at 5-7, true, they've got Rutgers, but they also have a lot of Wisconsin and Northwestern and Purdue and Iowa to tackle in the second half of the season. Jim Harbaugh with a curious comment after the game as well, talking about the toughness of his team, the mental toughness of his team as they fought back adversity, and they didn't flinch, they didn't blink in face of the Illinois comeback of 25 consecutive points. Well, Michigan should not be giving up 25 straight points to Illinois. And then to say that this is a tough team, and when I say that, I put it into context. I'm not saying that these student athletes are not tough guys, but I'm saying in comparison to their competition or what is expected of Michigan football teams, look at that Wisconsin performance. This does not look like a tough team. They're going to have to prove it to me otherwise. Your thoughts on Michigan football? Hey, throw in your thoughts on Illinois if there are any other or any more Illini fans out there, as Lovie Smith's job may be on the line, and maybe Jim Harbaugh if Michigan does not finish strong. And, of course, they've got Penn State, they've got Notre Dame, Ohio State, and others on the schedule. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please like, comment, share the videos, and subscribe if you love college football.